Hello, everyone. My name is Mike. I'm the head of breeder relations here at Pets for Homes. And today I'm bringing you my take on the UK pet industry report. This is a report that we will periodically produce and circulate to our breeders, our buyers, and our key stakeholders. And I'll be focusing this content today on breeder specific topics. So this, what you're watching here, is the breeder highlight. My objective with this video is to bring breeders the transparency and relevant information, ultimately what will help you make the best decisions for your pets and in the interest of their new owners as well. If you have any questions, then please do reach out to me. You can reach me in the comments section on the video where you're watching this, or if you've received this video via email, you can reply to that email and get through to me that way. So please do ask your questions. I'll be happy to help you. On the first page, you'll find an intro from me. I won't go into the full details of it. I'll just highlight some key points. So firstly, we are at a turning point in the UK market. We're seeing demand for pets reach back to pre-pandemic levels, and consequently we're seeing advert views increase. So we're seeing a 43% rise in the number of views per advert on the site. And also we're seeing pets being sold faster through the platform as well. So we're seeing that in 2023, the average listing time between listing and all the puppies being sold or the pets being sold was 40 days. We're now seeing this at 20 days. So we've seen a big uptick in the time to find the right homes for your pets. This is relevant to both dog and cat, and we're seeing an increase in demand on both, and we can get into cat specific things later in the report as well. And finally, we are highlighting that the animal welfare reports are falling as well. So this is owing to the increased safeguarding activity on the platform. We invest so much effort, resource into making sure that the listings on our platform are safe, and that has resulted in a year-on-year fall of 23% in the animal welfare reports, which is great. Of course, this is always a moving target. Job is never done there, but it's a really clear, good direction that we're headed in there. In terms of what this report will detail, we're going to start by diving into demand on pets. We're then going to talk about what this has meant for breeding activity, and we infer breeding activity very much by the listings on the platform, but it does give us really good insights into the supply of pets to the pet market. We have a pet price development section where we can talk about like the impacts that we're seeing, the effects that we're seeing on the pricing levels of the ads on our platform. And then we also have a discussion on the trust and safety aspects. So what's the trust and safety highlights over the past 12 months. Ultimately, our mission at Pets for Homes is to give pets the best life possible, and that's by creating a safe and trusted environment for them to find their loving homes. You know, we need to get them off to the best possible start, and that is to find them the right homes and the forever loving homes. And each year through the platform, we list 1 million pets. And those are 1 million pets that are actually rehomed through the platform. And there's then also the context that Pets for Homes is part of Pet Media Group, and Pet Media Group acquired Pets for Homes in 2019, and they're the largest rehoming group in the world. And you can see some of the other brands and platforms there on the map. So let's dive into some of the headlines. In terms of the market turnaround, as I said, puppy prices are up, and we have sort of reached this end of this 4-year post-COVID slump in the market. It makes a lot of sense. You'll see in some of the later slides there was a huge impact on the pet market from the COVID-19 pandemic, and there was a you'll see in the future slides that this has really created a lot of instability in the market, and we've seen massive spikes in demand and then oversupply, and it really created this environment that meant things were very unpredictable, and it didn't necessarily have the best impact on animal welfare. So it's really good to see these things kind of leveling out and getting back to the pre-pandemic norms. We've seen a change in the breed rankings as well. So this is like the most popular listed breeds on the platform. The French Bulldog, which has been popular, and it's been the most popular for 10 years, has actually now dropped to the third most popular breed as advertised on the platform, and replaced by the miniature Dachshund. And we're also seeing the Cocker Spaniel in second, and there's a few other breed ranking changes, which is it's interesting how this reflects sort of changing breed preferences widely in the UK, and it's a really interesting dynamic to watch. Additional findings: yes, golden doodles tend to have the most views per listing in the dog world, and the Oriental cat has the most views per listings in the cat category as well. And we're seeing some some of the price leaders. The most expensive dogs are the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and the Abyssinian cat. They're the most expensive breeds there. And you can see some of the additional findings as we go forward through the report. So this first graph, this really illustrates the impact of COVID, and the little highlighted area, the little red highlighted area at the end there, that shows like where we are now. So it's a bit of a complicated slide, so I'm going to just take my time to go through it. But what you see is the bars that are highlighted in green. This is the monthly the monthly breeding activity on the platform, and it's viewed as a percentage based on its year-on-year change. So we look at January 2021, we're really comparing that as a percentage to the demand, to the activity, the breeding activity in January 2020. And similarly, if you look at this beige line here, this is the demand, and then in yellow you can see the average puppy price, and these again are all compared as year-on-year changes. So what you can see through this timeline is that the first thing that we saw during the pandemic was a huge spike in the demand for pets. The assumption is many people were in lockdown. Maybe they thought this is the new future, and they spending more time at home, wanted more pets. So what you saw is a big increase in demand there. But as we know, as responsible breeders, these are not products that we're selling that you can just pull more supply off the shelf. These are obviously living beings, and ultimately this created a big imbalance of the amount of demand and the relative supply. But what we saw in the months afterwards is a mirrored image of breeding activity. So we saw that in response to this spike in demand, we saw a rise in breeding activity, but ultimately it came later than the spike in demand. So this is what I was saying earlier about this imbalance. It really created this difficult, unpredictable environment, and ultimately an oversupply of pets here, and that, as we all know, had definite negative consequences for animal welfare in that time, pet welfare in that time. So what we saw then afterwards is a resettling period where we had subdued demand consistently and subdued supply that followed. And now we just are coming out of the other side of it, where we're just seeing the first highlights that demand is growing, and people are considering, on average, the average person is considering pets again more than there was this time last year, and we're still seeing, though, relatively a lower amount of breeding activity. So what we'd ideally like to see is these two even out, so that everybody who wants a pet and is a responsible, uh, dedicated, committed owner will find one, and everybody who is a responsible breeder who has pets that they want to rehome will find one. The ideal is an equilibrium. In reality, we'll never get there, but it's a really good target for everybody to aim for, because when the amount of pets that people want matches the amount of pets that are being supplied, you have a situation that leads to pets staying longer in happy homes. You don't see breeding done for opportunistic reasons. You see it very much being an even, stable market equilibrium, and that's hopefully what we're now returning to. So similarly, we're seeing this is like another way to illustrate that uh, the puppy boom that was created in COVID is starting to resettle. So this top graph, you're seeing the number of puppies advertised per month, and you see that this trend line, this dotted trend line, is going slowly up and to the right, as you'd expect with like typical population growth. You'd expect it to go slightly up and to the right, but what we saw during COVID was a huge spike in the number of puppies advertised, and now we're seeing that below average levels there. And when you add all this up and turn it into a cumulative trend, what you can see is that this is then starting. We reached that sort of peak deviation from the trend in October 22, and this is now steadily coming down. So this is like if you add up all the puppies advertised over that time period compared to the trend, how higher above are we than the trend, and we're seeing that we're returning back to that typical trend line there. So that's what this slide represents. So now onto the demand side. So if we're looking at the amount of competition, in terms of the buyer competition, so this is like how many people are kind of competing to get in touch with you for the same pet. We saw this really was at its peak again during COVID, and we're seeing very recently that this demand has now recovered, and it's got back to the demand levels that actually exceed the pre-pandemic levels. So we can kind of ignore this spike in the middle here and just say, look, we're back on trend. And likewise, the number of views per advert, and this is for dogs and cats, that is trending upwards as well, both dogs and cats in the right direction. So we're seeing that return to people looking for pets. We're also seeing that the time it takes from listing your pet to having your pet sold on the platform, that time is decreasing. So obviously, as a platform, we want to make this process efficient for you. We know as responsible breeders how much time and effort goes into your pets, and we we don't want that time to be taken up unnecessarily with admin, maintaining your ad, etc. When if we can efficiently find you the best buyers and get that relationship started, and get that all done in a shorter period, it's going to ultimately save you the time in and making sure that you're spending that time on your pets rather than on maintaining your advert for longer. So it's a really positive sign, and obviously it's a big indicator as well that the demand is there. The next section, we dive into regional hotspots. I'm not going to go into each one, and just take a look, have a view onto what's happening in your region. This is indicating views per listing. So typically the higher number of views per listing, it indicates the higher demand relative to the supply. We have to be aware of patterns in the data as well. So sometimes what we will expect is that people view puppies a lot more than they necessarily purchase. So it's something to be aware of. This a view doesn't mean that there's a definite purchaser out there for that pet. So take that into account when reading these. But it is a good indicator on like the typical popularity of a breed relative to its to relative to the number of listings in that area. If anyone's curious of my accent, I do sit here on the Yorkshire and the Humber line, so that's where I'm residing, and I can tell you anecdotally, I don't see that many Australian Shepherds near me. Although I do see a few golden doodles, but I don't see many Australian Shepherds near me. So that might be an example of one of those where people look but don't actually go ahead and purchase a pet like an Australian Shepherd. Yes, that's me. And then you can see here the map of the south here. And we'll come on to like other regional variances soon, but yeah, and on the report, take your time and look into some of these statistics because they are interesting. So as indicated in terms of regional variances, we're seeing different preferences for cats versus dogs depending on where you are in the country, and we're seeing that Scotland has a higher number of cat lovers, it would seem, looking at the ratio of dog views to cat views per listing, versus in like Wales, for example, or Northern Ireland, where the dog is definitely leading the popularity race there. So we've talked about demand. We've seen that that's increasing. It's not increasing anywhere near the levels of the pandemic, which is a good thing. It's returning to a stable, on trend demand level. So let's dive into the breeding activity side and look at the key statistics from there. So advertised puppies, very similar to that graph we saw a few slides ago. We saw the advertised puppies spike during COVID, but what we're seeing here is that advertised puppies, by contrast, haven't had the spike that the demand graph shows. So we're still seeing a subdued number of adverts compared to the demand by contrast. And in terms of the breeding activity compared to previous years, so you can see this is the year-on-year slide here. We can see that in 2024 and 25, we've reached that sort of leveling out period. So we've seen that we're no longer in decline, and we're reaching that stable stable period in terms of the listing. And this is specifically for puppies we're talking about on this slide. And in terms of the breed share, we're actually seeing a number of what has traditionally been like the top breeds see a decline in the number of ads posted. The only outlier to this is the mini Dachshund, which is a percentage change of nearly 20%, 19.4% versus 2024. So the Dachshunds have seen a big spike, and relatively the other popular breeds that we've had have seen a decline. In terms of a percentage total, there's still 49% is still the other category. So this is all other breeds, but you can see the Dachshund there in green comparatively, Cocker Spaniel, French Bulldog. So you can start to see those how those break down as a percentage share of the total advertised. And in terms of the rankings, in terms of the number of the volume of pets sold through the platform, well, the miniature Dachshund is really from 2020 like to today actually really raced into the top of the board here. Relatively, this French Bulldog that was consistently number one has seen a drop, and we can read into that many things. I was recently asked on the radio what I believe the main the main reasons for this is, and I do think that the mini Dachshund and the French Bulldog, they're still both small breeds. They sort of fit with the modern lifestyle. They're also very Instagrammable pets. They're very TikTok friendly pets, very photogenic, and I think a lot of the demand certainly has been driven by that combination of smaller households relatively, and a sort of social media trend. But then you have some very stable breeds in there as well. Your Cocker Spaniel and your Labrador, in particular, very stable over time in terms of the number of listings for those pets. We are seeing a decline in pedigree breeds as a percentage of the total. So we're seeing there's non pedigree breeds, there's mixed breeds, crosses actually start to take an increasing share of the listings. And when we drill into the actual pedigree breeds, the what we're actually seeing there as well is a decline in the number of KC registrations. So there's definitely change afoot in the market, and these two graphs sort of lay that out for you. Likewise, you can see the split. So this is the same graph again in terms of the mixed breed gaining in terms of share of puppies listed, and what we're seeing then is the different breed groups and how they change. So your hounds are growing in popularity there, but that is likely driven by a few very popular breeds rather than the whole category growing. Next into kittens. So we're seeing kittens following a similar trend, number advertised. They definitely spiked during COVID, but unlike the puppies that we saw a few graphs earlier, these are actually starting. There is an increase in the number of listings, and that is following that upwards trend. You'll also see that this is a very, very stable, predictable, seasonal activity is listing kittens for sale. Conversely, the puppy is a little bit harder to predict. And likewise, what we're seeing, rather than just a stabilization, we're starting to see those first signs in the kitten side of things, that we're seeing more adverts being placed on the platform for kittens relative to previous years, and ignoring those two big pandemic years. And then in terms of the breeds, again a little bit more stable than we were seeing in the puppy side of things. We have the British Shorthair really leading the popularity raise here, and slightly gaining on its 2024 statistics. We're seeing the Maine Coon and the British Longhair like relatively experience a larger percentage of the listings compared to previous years. So that's an interesting trend to look out for there in the cat world. We also have statistics for other animals as well. I won't go into these yet, but you can dive in there. But we're seeing that pattern sort of repeats throughout, right? We're seeing that stability level. Everything increased over those COVID period, and now what we're seeing is we saw the decline and then the repercussion of that we're seeing in 2025. So this is a slide that demonstrates that these same patterns tend to be across species and not necessarily just specific to dog or cat. So next into the price development. So what we're seeing here is as the demand for pets has started to increase, and certainly towards the end of 2025, we are also seeing a relative increase in the pricing. This, I suppose, makes sense. If there's a increase in supply but not a matching increase in demand but not a matching increase in supply, then you'd likely see some prices rise. So this just sort of demonstrates that, and we can see like there's some breeds, in particular the Staffy there at the top, seeing the most price rises relative to other breeds. So that's just giving you an indication there. And we can also see like this is impacted by where you live as well. And again, like some of this is kind of intuitive, but it's good to see it laid out that if you are in the City of London, for example, cost of living dictates that everything's more expensive, and pets are no different. And the price of pets is increasing that way as well. And what we're seeing here in terms of what actually has the most impact on pricing is we're seeing that licensed breeders have a 52% higher pricing than the unlicensed breeders. This is obviously a combination of your costs that go into this, but also this is a result of obviously the you have the expense that you have to outlay to be a licensed breeder typically is higher, but also the pride in what you do tends to be that bit higher as well. So you do see that you get this increase in price on a licensed breeders. Similarly, if you have the verified reviews on the platform, you tend to find that those who've got the verified reviews, so this is reviews gained from people who've paid through the platform. So if your buyers have paid through the platform, we can verify that transaction. We can verify that they're a legitimate buyer, and we can therefore ask them to provide a verified review. And we find that people who have that higher four-star or higher average, they have a 17% relative price difference. And then finally, the ID verified. Obviously, this is a trust signal to your buyers. It's easy to do to verify your ID. It keeps scammers at bay, and you see here that there's a 23% increase there in the price of ID verified sellers. We have similar statistics for cat breeding as well, and we're seeing that the prices are rising relatively, although they're a little bit more subdued. And likewise, with the most expensive breeds, we can really compare what is a premium high priced breed uh, relative to other breeds on the platform. So the next topic is trust and safety, and diving into some of the safeguarding procedures and how that's impacted animal welfare reports on the platform. So in 2025, we moderated 275,000 different adverts, and that's each containing an average of three puppies or kittens equivalent. So it really, our moderation activities really does have a high impact on the number of pets there. And then in terms of the number of hours spent, so we can track the number of hours of our trust and safety team, and that adds up to really nearly 32,000 hours across 2025 that we spend. And this is because we do a combination of automated like review and automated moderation, and then in most of the cases, off the back of that automated moderation, a human will step in and act to either assess it, to contact the seller to get more information, to review parts of the advert. So it's a huge investment and a huge undertaking, but the results that we can get by continuing to invest in this area, the impact that this makes on animal welfare is huge. So it really is a key part of our activity. In terms of number of adverts reviewed or blocked, that's again, it's over 32,000 adverts that have breached one of the rules. Our terms and conditions are publicly available. The link is dropped there, and yeah, we still do get quite a number of adverts that fall into that review or blocked category. But in terms of the context, like it's a huge undertaking, but it's still important to measure this against the total share of adverts. So, in terms of animal welfare reports that have been posted, it still represents less than 0.2% of the total share of adverts on the platform. And we define this by the users who are reporting some form of suspicion. And sometimes you can have one person reporting several adverts, and other times you can have one advert receiving several different reports. But if you add all that together, that's less than 0.2% of the total adverts on our platform. But ultimately, the key highlight here is that we are seeing a fall in reports, and that is due to the continued investment of Pets for Homes as a platform. We're building in more automations, more moderations. We're building out our team. We're getting more members of staff, more eyeballs to look at these listings and these activities as well. So, and we're obviously updating our terms and conditions and strengthening that. So over time, we're seeing this decline in reports, which is fantastic to see. But as I said at the beginning, a never-ending mission. There will always be more that we can do in this field. And then we're also seeing an increased share in ID verified breeders. Now, if you haven't already uploaded your ID verification, it's really, really straightforward. And as we've seen in prior slides, it really does increase the trust that the buyer can put into your advert and into your profile. So there's really no downside. The more of this ID verification we can do, the better. And then as for the advertising standards as well, you will know that we are aligned with the Pet Advertising Advisory Group, and we very much take their guidance. And this is like this results in those 5 key principles that we want to support, which is that every pet deserves the best life possible. And we have a zero tolerance approach to any confirmed puppy farming, unethical breeding of pets. In the cases where this is a confirmed issue, we will take action. We have this this very firm rule about the importation of pets. Like yes, we know that for breeders, importing from certain lines is important, especially with rarer breeds and smaller gene pools. But we firmly believe that you shouldn't be importing pets solely for the purpose of selling them. We all know this, but pets should be treated with love and respect. They are family members, and that's a value we hold dear. And they should be healthy. You should be ultimately a responsible breeder. They put their health and the welfare first, and that is a priority. And what you'll see as we continue to evolve and develop is that we will be investing more into these areas and increasing the visibility and the support and the championing, holding these standards high. A few parts at the end about the methodology behind the report, and also a little bit about us as well at Pets for Homes. But that very much wraps up everything in the report. I am really keen to hear your questions. I really want to understand from you guys what else you would like to see in these reports. Is there areas that we've maybe not talked about as much that we should be talking about more? And on a individual breed level as well, are there things that we could break this down and provide these findings on a more breed or regional level that would help you? Ultimately, my job is to support you as breeders on the platform, and it's to really understand what can we do. We clearly capture a lot of this data, but it's about knowing how best can we use this to support you. What are the things that will help you most to achieve your goals on the platform? So do reach out to me if you have any questions on that regard. But this has turned into quite a long video. Obviously, it's quite a long, detailed report, so I'm going to end it here and wish you all a very, very happy 2026. And I look forward to working with as many of you as possible over the coming 12 months. So that's it. Thank you very much, and bye for now.